there everyone, it's Anthony back with another video here on Single and Placing. Hi, I hope you're having a fantastic day, weekday, weekend, week, month, evening, morning, overnight, all of that good stuff. I hope it's been a good one. Today we have for you a finish and reveal and review and kind of recap. And I'm super excited because this is actually my very first finish for Summer with the Masters 2023. So you might be able to see it through the canvas already as to what this is, or you've been following along with the kits that I've been working on, but I'm super excited to share this one with you. So we're gonna get right to the chase. So without further ado, let's take a look at Lady with a Fan by Gustav Klimt from Diamond Dotz. All right, well there we have it, Lady with Fan or Lady with a Fan from Gustav Klimt and Diamond Dotz. This is a round drill canvas with 40 colors, and it's got 2 ABs as well as 2 metallic drills, but as you can see, I've dolled it up quite a bit, but we'll cover that here shortly. The total design size is 67 by 67 centimeters. They do provide a fabric size of 75 by 75, so if you are framing this, that helps to maybe center it and get the right framing size and all of that. So yeah, as far as things to chat about, I want to go over kind of our pros and cons, anything that I noticed, and then we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive maybe than I normally do in talking about how I enhanced this canvas and how I made those decisions. So first off, as far as pros go, overall, this was a fantastic diamond painting experience. Diamond Dotz uses resin round drills, so I found that they had plenty of facets, super high quality. I didn't notice a lot of trash, which was nice. Well, to a certain extent, and we'll get there. As far as the canvas goes, I really liked this. It's a little bit more of a polyester kind of satin finish canvas. It's not that soft back, but it was still hefty enough, and I found that it lies really flat really quickly, so that was a pro. I have utilized Diamond Dotz canvases, the same canvas material on a much smaller image, and I found that one had a harder time laying down, but I think at this size, just the weight of the canvas and the drills on it, it lies pretty flat. So I really like that. The printing of the legend is super duper clear, easy to understand, and I actually like this slight border that you'll see here around the diamond field or the drill field. They extend the image just a little bit further, and it's an area that you don't diamond paint, and I just think it gives an interesting look. It might be useful when you're framing. I've heard some people not be super big fans of it. They'd rather have the drill field go all the way to the edge for the full image, but I don't mind having that little border. I think it adds a little bit of dimension to and interest to the piece. So I do like that. This is my first partial drill canvas that I've ever worked on. So you'll see that her skin tone and her face and those details in her ear here are not diamond painted. So you're seeing the actual painting come through here. That is what I've seen on, I believe, all of the Gustav Klimt images that Diamond Dotz produces. And I think it gives a unique and interesting look, not having it diamond painted. I don't mind it. Usually when I first started diamond painting, I was like, I'm not into partials. I want a full drill, full field. But in this instance, when we're just talking about skin tone, you can see her hand also hasn't been diamond painted here. When we're talking about the skin tone and especially the details of the face, since they're so kind of fine, that might end up getting rendered as a diamond painting a little bit choppy because they're just so light and delicate. So I actually kind of like this look. I think it comes together really, really well. So that's it. Overall, amazing quality, very happy with everything. The glue was nice and sticky. The symbol clarity on the actual canvas itself was very clear. No issues there. Once again, I'll say for the most part. And so let's talk about 2 of the things that I wish were a little bit different, or I found not necessarily to be a problem, but just something I had to work through. So the first of which, those same drills, even though they weren't like tabby or kind of any like super holy drills or drills that I wouldn't want to use, there were certain colors that there were a lot of stuck together drills. So just ever so slightly stuck together, I could kind of run them through my fingers if I picked them up out of my tray to break them up, or I could even use my drill pen just to kind of break them up. But I'd say there's probably 7 or 8 of the colors out of the 40 that just were really stuck together. I could give them a really good shake in my drill container, and that would help too, and then put a dryer sheet to break up the static that caused. But it's something to keep in mind, especially when you get towards the end of the canvas, when you only have a small handful of drills left that you're using. Having them all be the ones that were stuck together, I was like, oh my goodness. So a few of the colors, I ended my project up here in this corner. A few of the colors up here I was kind of fussing with because I had to break a lot of them apart. But not a deal breaker breaking apart those drills, but it just was a point of frustration from time to time. But overall, not that huge of an issue. And then the second thing that I've noticed, which is not a bad thing, but just something to be mindful of, is the way that Diamond Dotz prints their canvases. You get a lot of color transition between drills. And what I mean by that is, a lot of times when you're looking at a canvas from a different company, if it's a yellow drill, it's going to be yellow underneath. If it's a red drill, it's going to be bright red underneath. The color underneath fairly closely matches the drill, or it might be a slightly different shade, but what you don't see is different colors under different drills. And so here with this canvas, what you'll see is, like, for instance, if you can see this little piece of blue right here in red, if I was to look at this yellow drill next to all these blues, though underneath there might be like a green color or might be more blue, but it's calling for the yellow drill. And I think what they do there is they want the behind the drills, the background, what you're seeing in between, to have a nice consistent flow that matches the original image. So overall, it might end up giving the canvas a more natural look as opposed to being so pixelated and choppy. So I like the effect that gives, but when you're placing your drills, it can get confusing. Like, I'd be doing this whole section of yellow, but then I'd get to where these browns are or where this blue is, and these same symbols underneath would be like a green color or more of a blue color. So I found myself missing a lot of drills because I'm looking for yellow, or I'm looking for red, or I'm looking for blue, but the actual shade that symbol's been shaded at or toned might be a brown or a brighter green because of it's trying to do the math in between and find some good transition colors in the background. So like I said, it gives a smooth effect, but almost every single section I worked on, I'd go back through and be like, oh, that's symbol E, but symbol E is pink and that is green underneath, but it's because it's trying to match between these two shades. So it doesn't happen a ton, but it happens often enough that I'd say probably about 2 or 3 colors per section. Like a section I was working on, I'd actually miss a few drills because the background color is different than the actual drill shade, pretty significantly different. It happened a lot in these darker tones when we're transitioning from like dark to light. It was quite frequent, and then anytime you have a pretty strong transition from like the yellows to the pinks, or yellows to greens, or yellows to blue, these border colors would be kind of funky. So like I said, it actually improves, I think, the overall look of the canvas when it's finished. It just means you have to pay a little bit closer attention and look for the actual symbol itself, look for the number 2 as opposed to looking for it being brown. So yeah, kind of interesting, but it came together really well. The printing of the canvas, you can see on this border, it actually is a little bit more of a deeper hue than the drills that were selected. So that was another thing too. Like, this almost looks like purple, but then when you place your drills, it's a bright blue. So just something to keep in mind there. Not a con, just an observation. So, all right. So that's pretty much it for my kind of overview, pros and cons. Once again, fantastic image to work on. Worked up super quickly, super easily. Fair amounts of color blocking with your yellow background colors, but you every single section always had a pop of pink or a pop of blue or a pop of green. So I never got bored by this canvas. Every single section was super interesting, and I loved finishing a flower or finishing one of the birds, completing one of those. It always felt like a sense of accomplishment to finish a particular piece. The fan was a big thing that when I finished, I was like, oh, awesome. So I really enjoyed working on this. And the shimmer and shine, not only from what I added, but just from those resin round drills, is super high. In natural light, this thing looks stunning, stunning, stunning. So let's go ahead and chat a little bit about my enhancement drills. A few people have been asking as I've been posting video clips, or I guess update photos on Instagram. And I was posting, I think in my week 2 Summer with the Masters video, I was doing some time lapses of me working on this, and a lot of people had questions like, how do you decide what drills you're gonna enhance, what goes where, all of that stuff. So let's get into it. Okay, so what I have for us is my 60-piece Art Dot storage container with a little piece of washi tape that matched the washi tape that was on this, so I know which one I'm reaching for. And I'm gonna go ahead and pull out the drills that I selected, and then I'm also gonna show you where I store my drills. That way you kind of know how I look at this. So let's see here. So I store my specialty drills right now in this Art Dot 4-drawer storage container. This lives right on my table full time. Hopefully you can see that corner. Oh, perfect. Okay, so this lives on my table full time. Usually what I'll do before I start working on a canvas is make my decisions on what I'm going to enhance. However, there have been times where I'm working on something and there's just one little spot that has a red, or I'm working on the eyes of a face and I decide I want to enhance. So I always keep my my enhancement drills on my table now. That way I can quickly just improvise and take a look at what I have. I've got my rounds here, and then are these? Nope, these are all going to be round drills. So this is just for round drill canvases. I think I still have my square drill enhancements behind me, but I almost exclusively enhance round drill canvases for right now. But anyway, let's say I'm working on a canvas. I haven't decided if I was going to enhance anything, and I get to the eyes, or maybe the figure's wearing a ring or a necklace, and I'm like, ooh, I'd love to do a little metallic there or something. And so I can grab my drills and just quickly at a glance see what I have available to me and make a decision on the fly. So that's one way that you can do it as you go. If you're looking to do an overall enhancement like we've done here, my first tip or thing that I've found is I will enhance kits based off of the rendering that I'm seeing is a huge factor into whether or not I'm going to do a blanket enhancement. So I'm looking for rendering styles that are a little bit more clear and a little bit more crisp, as opposed to the super heavy color changing confetti style kits that utilize colors in places that you might not think that they would go, even though it all comes together well at the end. So I've found that shops like Dotz have a pretty clean rendering style, even though this particular painting is a little bit more confettied, a little bit more kind of patchwork. They still did a really good job of like, all of this yellow is one color, and then all the bordering, and then I knew that the center would be this, be their AB. It was a little predictable, whereas sometimes with certain rendering styles from certain companies, it can be a little unpredictable, where you're like, I wouldn't have thought that we would be putting this color over here in this area. This is a little bit more straightforward of, okay, we're gonna have blues all throughout here. I'm not gonna see a random pink or brown or something like that. Like I could kind of tell just from the rendering, okay, they're keeping these reds here in these specific areas. So Diamond Dots is one company that does that kind of charting pretty well. And then, of course, Diamond Art Club, their rendering style is a little bit more blocky, a little bit more streamlined. So I find that those kits from Diamond Art Club to be much more easy to enhance. And what I mean by that is rather than me going through and being like, okay, on this flower, I want to do a little of this. On this flower, I'll change this to this. On the peacock, I'll change this to this. I just go through, if I know that the rendering's consistent or a little bit more streamlined, I can say, all right, I've got a blue sparkler from DP with Sparklers that's close to this color, so I'm going to do a full swap. Anytime they ask for that DMC, I'm doing this blue. So I'll give you an example. The color 17 here was the downward arrow, and so you'll see that a lot in let's see, you'll see that a lot throughout here, all of this kind of sparkler, a ton right here up in the peacock's feather. I replaced all of those here in this this flower as well, and this bird's head. So what I did when I was kitting up is I'm taking a look at the color that Diamond Dot said, and I had these mermaid drills in my stash, and I was like, okay, anytime it asks for this, I'm just going to put this down. I'm not thinking about where I am in the canvas or what I'm diamond painting necessarily as far as the image. I just know that if it says that symbol, this goes here. So then on the top, I write the number, but then I also on this one write the number 17 in mermaid. I almost always will still kit up my original drills just in case I have a change of heart, or I, God forbid, run out of these and have to do some sort of weird thing. But I always I always kit them both up. I rarely ever end up using the originals, but I still like to have them around just in case. So I kit up them both. They go right next to each other. So when I get to that symbol, here's the original. I skip that and I just go 17 mermaid. All right, let's go. So that's what I do when I am kitting up. I'll look at the symbol on the canvas, or I'll look at the drill color, and then I go into my stash and I'm like, okay, I have Sparklers Mermaid here. Those look pretty close. So then I grab them, I kit them up into the kit, and then when I'm all done, they just go back in their homes. So that's how that works. I just do that with the entire kit as I'm kitting it up. Sometimes, even when I'm not kitting it up, I will just look at a canvas that I'm about to work on so I can order the drills that I need, and I'll just take a look at the symbols and the colors, and maybe I'll even crack open the drills to take a look at the drills so I can place my order accordingly from DP with Sparklers. But that's kind of how I do it. Each of these containers can hold about 1,400 sparklers, which is one container. It actually holds a little bit more than that, or one package of sparklers from DP with Sparklers. So when and you can see that the sparklers are bigger than regular drills. So if this gets completely filled up, I usually do like a 2-for-1. So if when I'm kitting up and I have a full container of regular drills, I know I need to order probably two bags. So it's like a 1-to-2 ratio. It's never a perfect science, and you do have to pay for shipping at DP with Sparklers. So if you are working on a kit that gives you the exact number of drills that you're going to be working with, that's great. But these shops like Diamond Art Club, Diamond Dots, they don't tell you how many are needed for the kit. They just send you enough to do it. So you kind of have to eyeball it. It's not a perfect science. I always end up ordering more than I need. As you can see, I've got this still left over plus some more in there. So that's the other thing that I try to do, is I always look at what I have in my stash before I just jump online and start buying more. So I was able to go through and be like, okay, I've got these random mint glow glass drills from, I think, oh my gosh, what's her name? I forget her name, but it's a Mica Jelena kit that I did last year. Oh no, Astrid from Mica Jelena. I used a lot of these mint glow drills last year. I had them sitting around, and as I was kitting it up, this very first symbol, number 1, was this color. And I was like, oh, those mint glow drills look pretty similar, so I just did a complete swap for those. So I try to use what I already have before I start buying more, but you can see those glow drills are here in these little sections. There wasn't a ton of them. There's a few here, a little bit up here as well. So that's how I do it. I grab what I have and I'll just look at the DMCs that are in the kit and I'm like, ooh, that looks close. And so I'm not always necessarily looking at where all of those will end up. I'm not analyzing this thinking, okay, there's 5 here, will that look good? There's 3 here, will that look good? I'm putting a little bit of trust in the rendering and in the artwork to make those decisions. And once again, and I guess another thing is the artwork style also plays a role into it. This is kind of a patchwork, a little bit of detail and focus is everywhere. You know, it's all over the place. So it's okay that you're seeing some embellishments on different areas. Now, if this entire background was all yellow and it was just her dress, that had some more detail and a dimension and was a focal point, then maybe I would just do her dress. And then if this background was just shades of yellow, I'd leave it completely alone. I wouldn't go find a bunch of yellow sparklers because I'm not trying to draw attention to the background, but because we have these little pieces of detail and your eyes drawn to all these different areas, this makes a little bit more sense. Another piece that might be a good example is, for instance, I'm trying to think of like another old Masters piece. I mean, if I was to enhance my Medusa, I'm looking at Medusa right now, I would probably do some enhancements to like the goriness and maybe some of the snakes and animals, but I'm not going, and maybe her eyes, but I'm not going to enhance her super dark hair. Like she doesn't need glitter drills in her hair or anything crazy with like the background, but the snakes and those kind of details where your eyes are supposed to be drawn to, that's where you want to think to embellish. So it's not an incredibly easy process, or it's not a blanket statement, just do this all the time and you'll be fine. It depends on the artwork style, where your focal point's supposed to be. I have a snoring puppy behind me. Oh my goodness. Can you hear him? He's dreaming. Oh my cutie. Oh my goodness. Okay. So anyway, so yeah, it's not as cut and dry. You can't copy and paste your same method for every kit if you're trying to embellish all of your kits. My rule of thumb is, because I like to do it quick, easy. I don't like to have to think about exactly, okay, when you get to this one flower, you're going to use this one special drill. I don't like having to think about it like that. I like to just, all that color is getting swapped. It's easier for me. I think at the end of the day, it's always turned out looking pretty good. And I'm trying to keep the colors very close to what the original DMC called for. So I'm not changing the physical look of the canvas. It's more of adding some more sparkle and dimension. So I'm not trying to like make this flower orange or something like that. So I'll give you a couple more examples. So there's this bright red that you see throughout her fan, here, a little bit here, some in this bird here. So they were calling for this red is what I was supposed to use, and I already had in my stash these fire drills. So I just made that swap for those. And then let's see, for the pinks, so like some of these pinks here and here and here, down here as well. There was another section that had a lot. Oh yes, up here in this flower. So they had this pink, and I replaced that with rose, the rose sparklers. So I made that swap. And then they had a lighter kind of powdery pink in those flowers, and I swapped that for this light pink from Diamond Dotz. So once again, trying to keep the look and the feel the same. There was very few areas that had this kind of butternut or kind of topaz color here. So it was originally this color, and I went ahead and swapped it for topaz. And this was purely because I had them lying around. I just said, you know what? We're gonna go for it. So we already talked about the mermaid. There's a lot of this lighter blue detailing through some of these areas. This was the color that they had selected, and then I just picked this aqua. And there's a little straggler in there. I just picked that aqua. I thought that was close enough. Let's do one more. So this color is really prominent up here in the feathers, here in the peacock. This kind of light teal, I guess, and then I replaced it with this moonstone. This is a little bit of a departure, but you can see the moonstone sparklers do give a glisten of that greenish blue. So I just thought it would be interesting. I was also thinking too, okay, well, we've got these peacock feathers and these bird feathers here. I want something that, I want a couple of the sparklers to have a little bit of that kind of peacocky feather iridescence to them. So they actually have one called Peacock, but I ended up going with that other one, and then this mermaid kind of has some blue. So I mean, there's a lot of room for play. I think people are a little bit nervous of making these changes because they don't want to ruin their canvas. But if you are keeping fairly close to the colors that are charted, the DMC colors that were charted, and you're just being mindful of the style of artwork, and you're being mindful of where the focal point is supposed to be, then I think you can get away with a little bit more than maybe you might realize, because as you take a step back and take a look at it from a viewing distance, your eyes naturally want to make sense of what they're seeing, right? So a lot of things just will come together just because that's what our brains want to do as humans. So I feel like you can get a little bit more creative and experimental with what you do here. If I did decide that I wanted this entire image I wanted to replace all that light pink with like maybe some soft orange tones to change it up, I could do that if I so choose. But like I said, I tend to stick to trying to match the colors and go on DP with sparklers and get as close as I can. And then let's say I was working on like a really classic image like Mona Lisa or something. I'd probably be a lot more conservative with doing enhancements and maybe just focus on, I don't even know what I do with that one, but focus on some of the brighter details or the focal point, not necessarily doing anything to her face specifically, but looking for maybe areas just around the face. Now I want to pull up that image. Let me pull up Mona Lisa. I'm trying to think of like what's a quintessential old masters and how would you enhance that? So I'm going to look up Mona Lisa. Let's see here, Mona Lisa. Show me the picture. Okay, cool. So yeah, there's a lot of deeper neutral tones here. So I could see potentially doing some kind of metallic or something. Maybe, because it's one of the brighter tones, maybe in her hair, not a ton, but like something really soft to just kind of weave into the hair a little bit. You could, even though this is background, it is a brighter color, you could find some really deep tone greens and blues maybe to add to the water or the background there ever so slightly. But other than that, a lot of these old masters pieces don't offer up a ton of opportunity for enhancements because they are mainly, a lot of them are darker neutral tones. But if you're working on something that has more pops of color, like Soul of the Rose, those roses have plenty of opportunity for enhancement. The lips have opportunity for enhancement. So there's a lot of options there. Even her kind of robe and gown could be completely encrusted if you wanted to. All those different teals and greens, that would look great. Woman in Gold, Diamond Dotz offers Woman in Gold with a ton of enhancement drills. The same with the Kiss, you have a lot of options there. So it really is, like I said, dependent on the artwork style. This is bright, summery colors, and it just screamed opportunity to enhance. But then if you are looking at something like Medusa, for instance, it's like, oh, I don't know if I do anything with that. The imagery is a little bit more neutral. So think about that. If you're someone that's wanting to, experiment with enhancing canvases, then you may want to look for something if you're looking to enhance an old masters kit, you really want to look for something that's got some brighter, springier, poppy colors. A lot of Van Gogh images would probably work really well with enhancements. So it's something to think about. It's not every canvas needs to or should be enhanced. You can always find a way, and if you need help with that, but just be mindful of the color palettes, those types of things are going to play a role into it. But my whole thing is, don't be afraid. Once you identify a kit like this one that you want to enhance, look at what you have in your stash. Look at what crystals you have, sparklers you have, that type of thing, and make some, and just kind of play and make some decisions. For instance, I have these Jack Frost gems from Enabler's Outpost. I could have just as easily put those in for these aqua ones and given a very similar look. But I tend to, unless I'm like working on something that really I'm like, ooh, glitter red, I have to use these glitter drills, I almost always start with sparklers from DP with Sparklers, because they are glass drills. They're super duper high quality. Their sizing is perfect for a canvas. I can pack a bunch of them together and they don't push against each other. They don't try to pop. They don't crowd. Whereas some drills that I've used from certain shops, they're a little too big, and so they do crowd, and I have to either checkerboard, meaning one of the original DMC, one of my enhancements, just to give them some more room to expand. I can't do a big chunk of certain drills because they're a little too big for some reason. But sparklers from DP with Sparklers are the perfect size, so I can do bigger chunks of them without having to worry about it. And I just love the high shine and the light catching and light refraction that the glass gives a canvas. I really think that it just elevates the look of a canvas. I think it makes it even look more of a high quality craft using those glass drills as opposed to some others that I have used in the past. And I like a lot of enhancement drills. I'll use pretty much anything, but my default is sparklers from DP with Sparklers because I really think it just, like I said, elevates the look of a canvas. So, okay, that's it for how I went about enhancing this. So let me know if you have any questions, you need any further clarification on how to go about that process. And if you need any help in identifying where you should enhance or kind of recharting a canvas, I would point you to Randy, aka You Can Call Me Butter. She has a business or a service that she provides folks where you can send her the image that you're going to be working on and the legend and all of that stuff. And she has a background in artistry and makeup artistry, so she has a really keen eye for what enhancements could or should go where. And so she'll work with you on developing a recharting of your canvas or where to add those enhancements. And then, as far as I understand, she can even work with you on ordering those enhancement drills. And I believe DP with Sparklers is one of the shops that she works with. So you can reach out to her on Instagram, over on her YouTube channel, and request some information or a consultation to get this done. And she probably will have much more of an eye of letting you know, like, okay, we're going to do a deeper red here, but then this one will be brighter because it's technically brighter on the image. I do kind of just put them down, put them down, see where they go. So if you're looking for some more refinement, maybe a little bit more, a more intricacy to your enhancement process, or you just need help from square one, that's where I would point you to. I'm not super good. I wouldn't be able to just sight unseen chart something for anyone or help you do that. I kind of know what I like, and I have to have the drills in my hands, and I purely go off of what's in my stash. So there's professionals out there that can do this for you. But anyway, if you do have any general questions, feel free to reach out to me. And then, as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, share this content with friends, family members, anyone that you think might take some value out of this content. Otherwise, happy placing. We'll see you next time. Bye, 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 bye. Bye.